Tired of the hype about living the dream? It's time for truth. This is the place for tools, power, and real talk so you can create the life you dream and deserve. Your ultimate life. Subscribe, share, create. You have infinite power. Hello and welcome to Your Ultimate Life. This is the podcast I created to help you live a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy by serving with your skills, your gifts, and your life experience. This is one of the special Thursday editions where we talk about coaching and AI with a couple of coaches and how that's going and what they see in their own practice, their own business, and in the world in general. And in that regard, we won't be doing Terminator or, visions of the future, although that could be a topic for someone else's show. I've got two coaches here with me. Ray, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kellan. Glad to be here.
And Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Perfect. So there isn't really a list of set questions. I guess I kind of like to start with letting the audience, I'll give you one at a time. You can say a little about what you do, but the question I'm really interested in is, are you using AI in your work, and how are you finding that? What are you using it to do? Ray, let's happen to be on my left-hand side, so why don't we start with you?
Yeah, Kellan, my name is Ray Hagler. Glad to be here. And I definitely do use AI. I would say that in my journey, everything that I look to do is more focused on the end in mind. So nowadays, I'll look more towards when I get to the end of my life and I hear, well done, good and faithful servant, I know that I will have reached something great. But in the interim, as I'm here, what I really am trying to do or doing is spreading the message of hope to 1 billion people. We do that through coaching, through our programs, through a lot of other things in business. But we do use AI, and I think that AI is great for information, but not necessarily great for transformation. So just a little bit about us, what we do. But yeah, man, glad to be here.
Tell me a little bit more about how you use it.
So I think that probably how anybody else uses it on a daily basis as I come to ideas or roadblocks or things that I'm not, fully, let's say, confident in. I may ask for different ideas or ways to utilize my ideas to gain a little bit more insight. Usually for structures too, I think a lot in order and how do we get things into very specific orders and why that order matters. So I'll go deep into AI, asking it questions about the divine order of things, and just trying to really get into how do we set a destination that we're trekking to and we run into those roadblocks? How can I have AI do the heavy lifting to get over some of those is what I use it for mainly.
Let me ask one more question about that, and then Jason, I'll get to you with that same question. You said divine order, and you talked about, well done, thou good and faithful servant, to quote from the scriptures. AI, how do you find AI? And I'm interested in this too, because I'm very spiritual, religious also, which are different things. But how do you find it responds to questions posed or framed in the context of spirituality? How do you find that interaction?
It depends. I'm very cautious of how I use it. I never use it to try to instill a new belief or it's mainly just to gain clarity about something I may not be completely clear on. So if there's any missing pieces to the puzzle, I always am trying to fill in those blanks. If I find that AI can get me an answer to something that's suitable before I can go and do deeper research, I'll see what it has. I'll take that into account. I typically pray over a lot of things or go to scripture or, ask other advice to ensure that it's right. But I will use it to fill in pieces or gain clarity because I find that that's where the true value is in how clear can I interpret something and then articulate it back out. If it can help me do that, I'll use it.
Cool. Jason, let's go for it.
Well, Kellan, I am the real Jason Duncan. I am the founder of a mastermind program called the Accelerator Club. We've developed a proprietary methodology for helping entrepreneurs get unstuck from the daily operations, get their businesses prepared to sell when they're ready to exit. But in the meantime, they move out of owner operator status up into what I call owner investor status. So that's what we do with the Accelerator Club. Now, the question as to whether I use AI, the 100% yes, every day, all day. It is now a constant tool in the arsenal. It is, I can't even think of a day in the past 2.5 years that I have not used AI for something. And what I typically use it for is I refer to it as a thinking partner. And Claude is the number one platform that I use out of all the ones that I use. And their advertisements call it a thinking partner, which I think is pretty clever. And so, for example, just before I got on this call today, on this show, I was preparing for an event that I'm leading coming up in the 1st of March. There's a leadership society that I'm the president of here in the Nashville community at a private club in Nashville. And I have to plan all of our events for the year. Well, this year we're doing something a little different on those events, where before it was all speaker driven, where I would speak for half an hour, then I'd have a guest speaker come in, speak for, 45 minutes to an hour, and we'd have dinner and cigars and all that kind of stuff. Well, this year we're changing the structure of that around my podcast, The Root of All Success. So we're going to invite the guest to come in. We're going to do a live taping of that podcast in front of the audience, and then after the taping is over, we're going to do Q&A with the guest. Well, since we're doing that new, what did I do? I went into Claude, and I have a specific project set up for all my coaching engagements, and I said, hey, on Leadership Society, here's the agenda that we did last year. Here's the idea that we've got this year. I want you to act like a professional event coordinator and planner who understands you're working with very high level executives and entrepreneurs. How would you plan this event around what I'm trying to do? Ask me one question at a time. And then it went through and asked all the questions, and it's given me a proposed agenda, and I'm giving some feedback, and we're coming down to getting the agenda. That's just one example of how I use it as a thinking and ideation partner.
So that's really cool. And it's one of the things that's fascinating for me about doing this is to hear all the different ways people are using it. And more than that, it's interesting is to hear how they describe that relationship, because some describe it as, oh, I just flip and love it. And some describe it with this sort of air of trepidation. I use it because it does good, but I'm waiting at every moment for it to screw up. And, it's just funny to hear the different ways people create their emotional relationship with this piece of technology. So that's fascinating. Ray, what do you think? I mean, in the book, Coaching in the Rise of AI is the book that spawned these. And I wrote it from May, June to about September, October of last year. And in that 6 months, I saw the capacity, I used ChatGPT, but I saw the capacity double and then double again. By capacity, I mean ability to fast, correctly assimilate, find good stuff, give intelligent answers, and do better and then better. And it blew me away, just in terms of how fast it was growing. And I noted that in our conversations. What do you think is the things that AI are going to replace or nearly replace in what today passes for coaching? And I don't really care. I said Ray, but either one of you can start. I don't really care.
Well, I mean, I do believe on a lot of the advanced thinking. I'll do the same as Jason mentioned. I'll say optimize a prompt that gets this thing done and spit it out at the end. It's a great tool to get new ways to think about ideas that you can bring to light, but I find that it's not going to have that transformation ability that we as humans have, but it's a great tool if you want to get down. I have, even in one of my businesses, I call it the B2B DCEO. So it's an extremely elaborate CEO that I can plug in certain keywords to, and it can give me information like KPIs and reports. It's very fast as to what that can do, and you can put that into your business and get all these things going or coach somebody how to do it. But it's the actually going out and applying it, being held accountable, and the transformation that you receive from the morals and ethics that we are able to do as human to human that AI lacks. And while it can give you great information and advice, it's not really going to be a tool for transformation in your life without the application, is how I view it.
Talk to me more about this word transformation. We, as coaches, and I'm one too, we spew that out like it's water, and we make assumptions about what that means. And of course, everybody has a slightly nuanced understanding. So when you say It's great for information and sucks at transformation. I'm paraphrasing. Tell me what you mean.
Well, if you think about it almost like skipping a rock across the surface of the water, you can gain a lot of advanced education really quick from AI. I mean, you can understand how to do almost anything. It doesn't matter. If I wanted to go into any industry, whether I wanted to be a YouTuber or start learning a game, or maybe I want to become a CEO of a great business, all that information is there and accessible. But if you're just using it to get the education and you get too used to just now I can learn really fast, but I'm never applying it towards anything. Education and thought without application is what I think of as you're just meditating a lot of the time. So if you're meditating, you're receiving all this information and education. You're really vast in knowledge, but you're not going out and applying it. You're not going to see any real life external transformation. The inward part of you may be getting to a point it can handle a bigger external world because you understand everything. But if you don't apply it to gain the confidence, to get the real world experience, and you're just learning this stuff, there's going to be no real transformation in your life. You're just going to have a lot of knowledge that may lose value rather quickly.
So I'm hearing application, real world experience, the execution of things that you learn. So, Jason, what do you think about that AI is going to replace or change in the context of coaching, which is what you do also?
Well, I think I want to put it in context. So the average coach in America makes less than the average household income in America. And that should tell you something about the value they're delivering. And we have to be honest with most coaches. If your entire coaching methodology can be replicated by a chatbot, you were never really coaching anyway. You're just asking questions.
Say that again.
If your entire coaching methodology can be replicated by a chatbot, you were never really coaching. You were just asking questions.
Okay,
and
keep going.
And AI, I don't think AI threatens great coaches. I think it exposes mediocre ones. And I mean, if you look at this, what an AI can do versus what a coach can do. I did some research on this. The average coach in America makes about $67,800 a year, and many earn far less than that. Salary.com actually puts it less. They put it around $47,000 a year. So if you look at this, entry-level coaches are charging a rate of somewhere around $120 an hour. Maybe if you're 10 years in the business, you're $300 an hour. But there's no industry regulation for coaching. There's no license required for coaching. Anyone can call themselves a coach. There are certification mills out there that certify coaches. There's over 500 programs worldwide, and many of them will certify if you just pay them some money. And so 48% of coaches themselves they will even say untrained people calling themselves coaches is the number one industry threat. They don't think AI is the threat. It's the other coaches that are the threat. And a year one attrition rate of 30% for coaches because many fail to even launch. And a 5-year failure rate for coaches is over 50%. So I think AI will eliminate low-end coaching. I think it opens up the horizon for all of us who are really good expert coaches, because AI coaching bots are growing 100% annually in the entry-level market. Because somebody says, well, how do I get my LLC off the ground? How do I get an EIN? Okay, somebody might have hired a coach to help them through that. Well, today you don't need a coach to do that. That's information, as Ray was pointing out. You just go get that information. And a mediocre coach at $120 an hour offers what an LLM like Claude or ChatGPT or any of these that already do for $20, $25 a month. And they can restate what a coach said, and they can even provide some surface level accountability. Obviously, it's not proactive. You have to engage with it to make it work. But can AI ask open-ended questions and hold coaching conversations? Not at the high level. They can at the entry level, but not at the high level. So I don't think that AI is threatening good coaching. I think it's actually going to make good coaching even more valuable.
All right. So I'm going to agree with that last part a lot. And I'm just going to exaggerate what you said in the middle. I don't think it's going to get rid of every entry-level coaching. I think it's going to get rid of entry and mid-level coaching. And the only thing that's going to be left, and my prediction in the book was that by Christmas, and when I wrote it, it was 18 months out, and now it's 11 months out. By Christmas 26, 95% of coaches won't be able to make a living. Now, I defined arbitrarily a living at 100K, because I figure if you're making much less than that, you either have another job or you have a partner or you have something, because it takes about that to live. Maybe, arbitrary. But and I still am seeing ads a month ago, I saw an ad on Facebook in a beach chair of some dude on a beach with a laptop saying, change lives and make a good living, be a life coach. Somebody's still doing that sort of thing. And I think that you're right. Questions, frameworks, tools, new ways of thinking, all of that stuff that, asking good questions is what used to, a coaching skill. It is, but sort of. There's so much. That's still entry level stuff or mid-level stuff. And I think the whole mid-level thing is going to be gutted. And I don't know, just my opinion about that. And I'm grateful for that. So then it brings me to the question, and I love the fact that you looked all that stuff up. I did too. I mean, I looked up the whole salary distribution of coaches in April or May of last year, June. And then I looked it up projecting to December of this year. And I did an analysis of 11 different coaching models that I put in the book and all that other stuff. But this brings me to the fundamental question then, what is left? What is the core that AI cannot do, at least in any vision of our present iteration? I don't care. Somebody.
Ray, you want to go first?
Yeah, it would seem AI, and I like to think of different philosophies and stuff out there, just these little things that I can do. I'm always like, I treat life like a buffet. Take what I want, I'll leave the rest. And AI can seem like a filter, right? That can filter out, give us the information that we really want. And it's not necessarily the enemy, but it can't be there with you to create that long-term sustainable behavioral change that a lot of people need to break through to the next level. I've heard some of the most fascinating things from mentors, people that have coached me from just in a conversation back and forth off of how was the tone in the room? What was the timing of the situation? Where were we in that moment in time? And what did I gain from that conversation that we were communicating back and forth from? AI can give you that knowledge and information, but I don't see how it's going to instill it where it's going to hold you accountable to want to go out there and run the long race, especially when things begin to get a bit tough. Because no matter how many questions you have, you can know all of the how, but if you don't know your why, you're going to crack when that pressure hits. And that's what real coaches and people that are mentor level can help you see and understand that I don't believe AI is going to quite be able to hit on.
So and I think my perspective on that, Kellan, is that what AI can't replace in the coaching industry is relationship. It cannot replace relationship. I have a coach that I work with on a pretty regular basis, and that every once in a while, not every meeting, but it's more often than not, he will say to me, you know what? I need you to meet this person because they are doing something that I think blah, blah, blah. An AI bot can't do that. No AI can know who I need to know. Now it has access to that. I use Perplexity .ai, which is phenomenal for just doing research on people. I can go in there and say, who is Kellan Fluckiger and who is Ray Hagler? And I can pull that out and it's pretty cool. Who is the real Jason Duncan? You can pull that data. But it doesn't know preemptively that I should know somebody. And frankly, even if it did know, hey, you should know so-and-so, it doesn't have a relationship with that person to make an introduction that person would listen to. So I think relationships are the thing that AI won't replace, and relationships are necessary. I believe that one-on-one coaching, while beneficial, and while will continue even in spite of AI, there's a relationship there that can't be replicated. But more than just the one-on-one coaching, I think it's the mastermind experience or in a group coaching setting where you get to interact with people who are on the same journey, who are going the same direction. AI will never be able to replace that.
So one of the things that I did in preparing and writing the book, and I think both of you should read it, by the way. I don't know if you have, but I'm recommending it. But anyway, I took 11 coaching models that I knew the names of, and it wasn't exhaustive, but I put it in for analysis and asked a couple of questions. I asked, how effective is this coaching methodology at producing the results that people expect? And I realized it had whatever it had to draw from, but it did a surprisingly thorough analysis and sounded really good, as AI is wont to do. And then I asked another question. I said, how vulnerable is it to what you know you can already do in terms of like the things you guys have said, and as you see the development going forward? And it gave me an analysis of low, medium, and high vulnerability to AI based on all these different reasons and so forth. And after I did all that, it got to feel pretty daunting, like, holy crap, okay. And then I asked it the question this way. I said, all right, fine. What do you suck at? What can't you do? What are you going to just fall on your face? And I use those words. What are you going to be obliterated at? And it gave me some nice things. And then it summarized it in one sentence. And it said, I can't bleed. And to me, that is the essence of that energy in that relationship that often is the impetus for the transmission of truth. And as I worked, one of the other things I did in the book was propose a new coaching model that I thought would be AI proof, and why. And as I did it, and I had it analyze it the same way as it did the other models and so forth, it kept using the word transmission as a key tenet that it is not able to do, which is talking about relationships, and it's talking about, that ethereal quality. And so that was, I can't bleed. I mean, that hit me, because I'm like, okay, now we're talking. Now there's something to talk about. So you've talked to me about what AI can't do, at least in our foreseeable model right now. So what do you think coaches need to do if they really want to stay in this game? If low level, formulaic level, and I even think mid high, like literally 5%. That's what I'm thinking, and maybe less than that. And they're going to be really well paid and really valuable. And what do you think coaches need to do, if anything, to stay in the game?
Yeah, I would think that keeping the focus on outcomes and identity shifts for your clients, people that you're working with, that accountability and the pressure to continually succeed is what's going to be needed, because we can get all of the right answers with AI. We can have them all. But if you don't have that ability to show someone the way to shift an identity or to get the outcomes that they're wanting, to understand what it is that basically even understanding where it is that they want to go. If you don't know that, and you're just out here trying to add value and add information and answer questions, that's not going to be enough to keep you going. You're going to have to already know the end in mind, be able to help create, maybe even get a bigger vision for someone, and instill a new belief that they may have that limiting belief on them. So it's really going to be knowing how to interact with people outside of AI to understand where they are as a person, where they're trying to go, and then figuring out creative ways right then in that moment or with them that they trust you, to give them ways that they can reach a destination that they want or enhance the destination that they're trying to get to.
So you said something really interesting, and Jason, I want you to answer that, but you've said several times, begin with the end in mind. And that just made me wonder, in a conversation, however deep and long, and some of the other coaches have talked about, extended marathon sessions that they've had with their version of AI to help them with a particular thing or talk them through something. But that begin with the end in mind in a visceral and powerful way. That's a really interesting thought. Anyway, Jason, what do you think coaches need to do if they really want to stay in the game and make a difference?
Well, I think we got to lean into AI. I can only imagine what it was like when calculators were first invented, that were pocket, you could carry around with you, and how the teachers of the world were like, no, so
I
just say no to calculators.
I was a junior in high school when that happened, and I was taking physics, and the math and physics teachers were fighting with each other about whether or not we had to still do the slide rules or whether or not we were allowed to. So I lived that transition. Yeah,
well,
and that was
and look how it turned out. The winner, history has proven, was the one who knows how to use the calculator, right? It's not the one who knows how to use the slide rule. Does that make slide rule obsolete? Almost, but not necessarily. There's still people that need to know how to do that. Think about when the internet came out. Before the internet, before the World Wide Web, What was our source of the world's knowledge? It was World Book Encyclopedia or Encyclopedia Britannica for the most part. If you needed to know something, there's volume of books you would go pull. So data has always been available to us, but the way that it's given has been changed over time. So for anybody who would not lean into the World Book Encyclopedia or Encyclopedia Britannica, just walked around ignorant most of the time. That's just how it was. If you leaned into it, okay, you became smart. You actually knew things. And the World Wide Web came around. Same thing. If you didn't lean into that, you got left behind. Well, we're on that cusp of this new generation of new technology that synthesizes, not only has access to the data, but can synthesize it into the specific thing we're asking. Or you can ask Google a question and it gives you 18 million answers, possible answers to that. Well, now AI can say, here's one answer that I think what you're looking for. Now, it might be right, but it's synthesizing it. So I think coaches, if you're going to stay relevant and stay in the game, you got to lean hard into it. You got to lean really hard into this. And it could be for simple things. I mean, I'll give you an example. We're doing this on Zoom today. Zoom has an AI function capacity for note taking in meetings. And I don't know if this meeting is AI is recording it, but when I meet with the clients, I always do it on Zoom. AI in the background is pulling that data. It sends me an email after with a synthesis, of all the things we talked about. It's not a transcript, although I can get a transcript, but it's a synthesized version of what we talked about, high level. I take that information and I go into my Claude project that I've created for my client, and I will drop those in there and say, hey, this was the session notes from today. I want you to look back at everything we've talked about, take these session notes and turn it into a summary that I can send my client of everything we talked about. And then I send that client a summary. And then when I show up for the next session, I'll go in right in that conversation, and I could say to Claude, hey, I'm about to meet with a new client. Here's a couple things that happened that weren't in the notes that have happened since the last time we talked. Give me an outline of things that are the most important things for us to talk about today. Now, does the AI replace me? No, it helps me remember all the things that we've talked about that I might have forgotten about. I forgot this person's name or this situation that was going on, and it reminds me. So AI needs to be leaned into, not run away from, if you're going to make it in the coaching world.
I love that. And, when I thought about, and I don't know if 5% is right, I did it based on income and 100,000. And it occurred to me that there are three things that could easily prevent a coach from doing this. And maybe there's more, but I summarize it into three. One is I call it the head in the sand problem, which is pretend that it's not happening. And you might be surprised, but I've talked to coaches that say, we all need human connection. I got that covered, no problem. And when I'm done talking to them, my thought is, yeah, and you're going to be out of business in 5 minutes because of that attitude. I'm pretending it's not happening while you drown. The second one is what I call the anti-problem. And you've alluded to this in a different way, and that's this. Imagine going into a casino, and there are blackjack tables all over the place, and they're $10 tables, and you go to sit down, but you realize all the chairs on the $10 tables are taken by robots. And the only place for you to sit down is the high roller room, and the ante there's $10,000. And so it occurs to me that the ante to get into this game, and I don't mean necessarily financially, but the ante energetically and commitment-wise to get in this game has gone way up. And the third way I describe it is the embodiment problem. You can't coach who you aren't. Like talking about things is no longer going to be effective because AI can do that faster and better than you can. And if you are not, like, personal development's a mountain without a top and we're never done, okay. But if you're not actively and powerfully engaged, if you're not really the embodiment, the truth of what you teach, especially when you're talking about behavior and attitudes and things like that, you're history, you're toast. And that climb is not a trivial process. And so those are the things, at least to me, that make it challenging, or could make it challenging for someone to question their level of commitment and whether they want to stay in this game. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I eventually think that it's not going to be AI versus coaches. It'll be AI with coaches that know how to utilize it more. But the burnout, and again, it depends on where you're trying to go. And if you're just traversing around the waves of opportunity, trying to find clients, fit a niche, try to figure it out. If you don't have a true problem that you're out here and capable of solving, You can have all of the questions, but if that passion isn't inside of it for you to go out here and do it, when you hit a few road bumps, you're going to fall off the wayside and be done, is what I think about it. But yeah, coaches are just going to always be the ones that can instill, and I guess where it's talking about transmission, but pass along maybe a belief or see. I feel like AI, even though it can answer those questions, it may not be able to articulate what, as you're asking AI particular questions, another person may look at you and say, well, why are you asking it a question in that way? Maybe you're lacking personal power. Maybe you're lacking a way like confidence or something in the way that you're asking questions. So if you're not able to articulate that to a client, like, hey, why are you asking it this way or doing, you may end up finding yourself just answering questions that they already know how to answer for themselves. So if that makes sense there, see where I'm trying to go with that.
Jason, what are you thinking?
Well, I think the investment that you're referring to that we have to make to stay relevant in this game is a legitimate conversation to have. But I don't think it's as high as people might initially think. I don't think it's going from a $10 table to a $10,000 table. I think it does require a little bit more. But I pay $100 a month for Claude. That's what
Right.
I'm paying for Claude. I pay $25 a month for ChatGPT. It's my backup, and I usually only ask it like one-off questions about things. I don't engage it. ChatGPT gets hallucination problems significantly more than Claude does. So I'm spending, and if I just look at that, $125 just on those two. Then there are other, I pay $50 a month for my Zoom, which has the AI built into it. And there's other little pieces that I'm using. I've got a CRM that's got some AI functionality built into it. And there's other programs. So all in, I'm probably spending a few $100s a month just to have access to things. But the investment is not just the financial investment. I'm investing in how to use it.
Was a placeholder. It was just
yeah. Well, but the investment that I'm making is about the time. Like I'm having to learn it. So, for example, I was scrolling through Instagram a few weeks ago, and there I follow a lot of the AI stuff, so I'm always looking into it. And there was an AI post or a post about AI. It was a carousel post about 6 prompts that'll change your life or something. And I thought, okay, cool. Let me take a look at it. So I looked at them and I thought, you know what? These are actually really good. So I screenshotted those. I sent them to myself. And then later I went in and pulled those out, transcribed them, put them into my own AI prompt document that I keep as kind of a living document. And then I started using them one at a time. And dude, talk about transformation. The post and the AI itself didn't do it. But what it made me think about is time I invested into it. It's like, wow, this is really good. And so I engage with it. I've got one conversation in Claude that is just about one prompt from that thing I found online. And I just have an ongoing conversation. And what did that prompt do? Well, one thing it said, it showed me my limiting beliefs around what my business is doing and the fact that I'm charging half of what I should be charging for my mastermind. And it showed me that, I should be earning this much instead of that much. And it's challenging me in ways that, heck, a human coach hasn't challenged me in a long time. Now, it doesn't replace human connection. We've already established that. But what it did do is make me think deeper. But I had to invest time and energy to get to that depth. If you just sit down at your computer and type something in on ChatGPT, it ain't going to give you anything. You have to invest in how to use that tool. It's just like any other tool. I've got lots of tools in my basement, many of which I know how to use, some of which I don't. But if I do how to use it, I could probably do some pretty cool stuff with it.
So that reminds me, my son is a carpenter, but his real love is bespoke furniture and stuff with real exotic woods. And so he does that sort of thing as a master at tools I don't even know how to hold to do amazing things with that. And it just reminded me as you said that. So
you can take that tool your son uses and do nothing with it, but it does what it does. And
it does.
In the hands of a master craftsman, it could do amazing things. AI is that thing. And we've given that amazing tool to millions of idiots that don't know how to use it. And they're treating it like a Google prompt. They're just trying to ask Google a question and they're getting bad information and they're making bad decisions and they're going in the wrong direction. So it's a tool issue. It's how to use it.
It is, but the tool, but it's the courage and the commitment of the person to use it, because a tennis racket hangs on the wall, and you can be Alcaraz or whatever that fellow's name is and Djokovic that just played in Australia, I think, or you can be some hack that used to play tennis in high school, and that would be me. But you're right. It's the willingness to invest the time and energy to become excellent with any tool. So let's ask a different question. What do you see as and you've already pointed to this already, but I want to ask it explicitly. What do you see as the dangers, the pitfalls, again, in the context of coaching now, not just hacks asking Google questions, but in the context of coaching, pitfalls, problems, dangers, call it whatever you want, with this proliferation in this tool?
Yeah, maybe the leaning more towards the results. A lot of people take in AI as a belief system that it's just going to be accurate every time it spits out an answer with no real testing of it, with no going in and trying to do a deep dive or actually getting data, putting it out there to see what the reaction is, and just taking that it's given me this answer. So now I'm going to go pass that out to people out here in the world. And then if it's a big enough idea, but doesn't hold enough structure, then it can eventually collapse under the weight of, people trying to go out there and execute it, especially for clients. So I think just the trust factor in it, taking it for what it is and not really testing against it, is one of the scariest things that I see, because it does hallucinate. It does think of things in a different way. And if you're just taking it for what it is, I find that that's probably one of the scariest things out there.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that one of the biggest dangers is that it can mislead, whether it's intentional or not. We could have that conspiracy conversation, but it can mislead us to believe things that are true that are not. It can mislead us that something is a good idea when it's actually not. And the hallucinations are amazingly stupid sometimes. I mean, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I was working on a prompt, and I was in ChatGPT, of course, because it's the worst. I think second only to Gemini. I think Google's Gemini is the dumbest AI on the planet. That's my opinion in the use case. ChatGPT is probably second. But I was asking ChatGPT to do something in a conversation that we've had ongoing for a year. So it's not new information. And I said, hey, give this to me. And it, I can't even describe how dumb the output was. It was insane how stupid it was. It had no connection to any reality of anything that we had talked about. And my wife gets mad at me because I don't type a lot. I usually speak into the microphone, and my computer does it for me, speech to text. And so I'll be yelling at my computer, and my wife laughs all the time. You yelling at ChatGPT again? Yeah, I was yelling at ChatGPT again. Like, I give it tons of grief and treat it like a, redheaded stepchild, as the old saying goes. But I think what we've got to learn, and the caution here is that just because it says it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it close to right. And it may seem right, and it could still be dead wrong. I'll give you an example. So I'm working on this event thing I told you guys about earlier as an example. I'm working on that today. Well, the first draft of the event it gave to me. Here's what you're going to do at 5:00. Here's 5:45, 6:00. And it's pretty good. I looked at it. I thought, okay, that agenda will probably work with what we're trying to accomplish. But here's what I said to it. I'm going to read it. I want you to think about this like a professional event coordinator and run this through possible unintended consequences or things that are going to pop up that we wouldn't have thought about ahead of time to see if it still holds true. So that's all I did. I just said it. I didn't give it new stuff. I just said, go back and reconsider. And it said, good, let me pressure test this. Here's some things that would probably go wrong. And it listed 7 things that would probably go wrong. And some of the things was legit. Others, like, I'm not worried about that. Probably won't happen. I think 3 words that everybody could use today, listen to this show, that'll change your interaction with any AI model is the words, are you sure? So whatever you do, get your output and then type in those 3 words. Are you sure? Hit enter one more time and just see what it says. Sometimes it'll come back and go, you know what, right? You know what, Jason? I'm not. And here's why. I don't think you trust it. First pass, never trust it. And I think you need to go back and double and triple check. But it really is also quality of the prompt. Ray kind of mentioned that earlier. The quality of the prompt has a lot to do with it. If you sit down with a new window, just open a brand new chat window, no context, and say, I need you to show me how to do X or answer this question. You're asking the world's information to give you to give you an answer on something you gave it no context around. You didn't tell it how to act. You didn't tell it what to consider. You didn't tell it context. You just ask a simple question, and that is leading people astray.
I
So
think
go ahead. Sorry.
I just wanted to say one other thing on that too, that it can almost start to take creativity away. It's who's the initial seed of inception for that idea, and where's that thing going to go? If you're asking AI to be creative for you instead of you have the initial idea, well, whose original idea was that, and what are you going out there creating in the world? So that too is just not allowing it to take over your creativity, but being a tool to enhance your creativity.
So I like that. In other words, if you're asking it to think for you and live your life for you, essentially, in either small or large ways, it's going to suck because it has no context for a life well lived. So I want to throw this wide open now for the last piece here. We've talked about some specific things, how you're using it, what the possibilities are, what it might mean for coaching, what the dangers are. What else? What else is either a positive or a concern that you would want to leave here in this conversation about the growth of AI in the context of coaching?
Well, I think AI can hand you a blueprint, but it's not going to be able to necessarily build it for you. And then that's where coaches are able to come into. If you've got someone that can know where you want to go and come in and build a custom bridge for you to cross that gap that you can't cross by yourself, that's what you should be looking at it for. If you're a coach and you're out there, and if you're not able to build a custom bridge, come to Creative Solutions, figure out a way to truly help someone, they are going to be able to find that information themselves. So how can you help someone get the outcome that they are wanting to achieve and get to the place that they want to go without just saying that I can add value or add information or I've been through it or whatever these are that are going to give surface level answers? It's about creating real impact in people's lives and watching transformational growth and then being with them as they change. And I look at it too, not necessarily how can I gain more clients to coach, but I'm looking for business partners or joint venture relationships with people who may not have the education that I do. How can we combine both of our skill sets together and make something even greater? How can I enhance your vision, or how can we create a vision? Or maybe I've got a vision that I want to pass out there, but I look for it more as creating joint venture partnerships with longevity in relationships than how can I have somebody help somebody for like a 6-month thing here. And I believe that joint venture partnerships, people teaming up together under leverage or structured businesses, meet people that already have that. How can we come in and help those people get to where they want to be quicker? That's where some real value is going to be. And that's where clarity comes from the human mind, where I think of it as Ray-I instead of AI.
Ray-I love that. Jason, what are you thinking? What else?
I love that, Ray. You got to get that, man. You got to make.
I think you got to use that. That's great.
It's got to be
Ray-I.
yours.
Good for you.
So I think about it in story terms. So back in the late 1800s, it would take you months to cross from New York to the West Coast. Months. I mean, you get on a wagon and go out there, and you might die on the way. But the ability to go from New York to San Francisco was always available. Like, you could do it, right? You could do it, but it just took a long time, and there were risks in the time that it took. There were risks, and then as the cars began to be developed in the early 1900s, that time shrunk, but not nearly as much as you might imagine. It still was weeks, if not months, maybe a month, to get across this continent. And then on the advent of the airplane, in the 20s and then on into the 30s, it became more popular for people to commercial flight. Now you could fly across the country in just a couple of hours, few hours, right? And then now we can fly to the other side of the world in less than a day. So what have all of these things, what does all this illustrate? Well, it illustrates that the ability to go from one place to another has always been there, but the new technology just made it faster. And what we do with the extra time that we've saved, well, we do lots of other things. Lives have been saved, relationships have been kindled, new discoveries have been made because we otherwise would have been spending months at a time in a wagon trying to get somewhere. And now we have time to do it. So I look at AI as this new accelerator. We now can do, with all the information that AI has, we gave it. right? I mean, AI didn't make this crap. I mean, it does make some stuff up, but it didn't make stuff up. Like, it's the information that it uses to give us answers and to ideate and to come up with cool ideas. It has in its storehouse that was given to by humans. It has in its storehouse. So now all we're doing is getting access to it faster in a synthesized way. So what do we do with that extra time? Well, as a coach, it used to take a couple of hours a week of prepping for meetings, recapping meetings, sending session notes and now, dude, it happens in the background when you're thinking about it. And I might have to send one email and read it and make sure it's all good and then send it. I'm talking minutes. Well, what am I doing with my time? I'm developing other programs. I'm thinking deeply about strategy. So I think that AI is this accelerator, and I think we need to lean into it. And then I'll give one other maybe unpopular opinion about AI. I think AI hit its limit. I think we've already hit the peak. This is my opinion. I think it's now cannibalizing itself. I think it's becoming dumber. I think if you don't know how to use it, you're going to be, if you've seen the movie Idiocracy, I think that's where we're heading. I think you should go look at it if you haven't seen that movie. But I think AI has reached the limit because it can only operate with the information that we humans have given it. So it's not really artificial intelligence. It really doesn't exist. It's just speaking back to us what we've already said, but it's just synthesizing it. It's like math didn't get invented by this calculator. Math was invented by, well, we could say God, and then humans figured it out, and we put it inside this machine. AI, I think we've reached the peak. I don't think it's going to take over the world. I think it's going to be just fine. It's only going to get better to the extent that humans give it better information. That's my opinion.
It's good.
I love that. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate your insight, you sharing your heart, your love, your intelligence, and your opinions, unpopular or not. I don't care. This has been really fascinating for me to talk to everybody and to hear this extraordinary diversity of thought that we've had. So, Ray, thanks for being here with me today.
Thank you, Kellan. Thank you, Jason.
Jason, thanks for sharing with me today.
It's been a lot of fun. I love chatting about AI, so this has been great. So thanks, Ray. Thanks, Kellan.
You bet. Listeners, I want you to take this opportunity. And, every Thursday, we've been doing this now for a few months, and the diversity is extraordinary. And the change in conversation, just because of things that are already going on in the world, is extraordinary. But here's one thing I know comes through as a thread. This is a tool. Ignore it at your peril. Lean into it, as Jason mentioned. Start with the end in mind, as Ray talked about. Make this valuable for you. Don't see it as a threat. Don't get uptight. Decide if you're willing to do the work that it takes. And my opinion is a little higher than Jason's in terms of the effort. But whatever, do it and make a conscious decision so that you can stay in this business if you want to. And either way, move forward to create your ultimate life.
Never hold back and you'll never ask why. Open your heart and this time around.
Right here, right now. Your opportunity for massive growth is right in front of you. Every episode gives you practical tips and practices that will change everything. If you want to know more, go to KellanFluckigerMedia.com. If you want more free tools, go here, YourUltimateLife.ca. Subscribe, share.
Stand with your heart.